This program and its contents are designed for information and educational purposes only. This program does not render medical advice or professional services and is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. The information provided here should not be used for the purposes of diagnosing or treating a medical or psychiatric condition. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, consult your healthcare provider.
Positive Momentum TV is brought to you by Movement Solutions.
Hi, welcome to Positive Momentum TV. I'm Diane Silva, and today my guest is Katie Jensen, and Katie is a DBT therapist. Katie, can you tell us a little bit more about what a DBT therapist is versus a regular therapist, or just run with it?
Well, DBT is a type of therapy, and it is different than therapy as usual in several different ways. But the DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. And the dialectic is really the idea of looking at the polarities of life and synthesizing those polarities. This particular concept helps to fight black and white thinking or dichotomous thinking that is often present in mental health issues.
Okay, now for those of us who let's kind of back it up just a little bit. You're talking polarities and dichotomous thinking and stuff, and some of us, I apologize, don't get it.
Right. So what is that?
Break it down into, elementary school kind of.
So
I can grab it.
What I mean by polarities is if we look at everything in nature, we are pretty much aware as human beings that there are these polar properties. For instance, the sun has qualities that are good for us and it has qualities that are bad for us, and we live with those polarities on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
And so for instance, if you have skin cancer, you interact with those polarities of the sun differently than you might if you don't have skin cancer. So we're all sort of synthesizing polarities on a daily basis to live in nature because, as you might recall, we've tried to get rid of med flies and we found that didn't work. That wasn't good in some ways. We tried to get rid of certain molds and found out we needed those molds. You can't get rid of any element of a system without some part of the system suffering. Okay. So in DBT, that dialectical piece takes that into consideration when we're trying to solve daily problems. And by taking that into consideration, it helps to fight dichotomous thinking, which can get us into double binds. Double bind meaning corners in life where we feel like we can't get out, or prisons in our minds.
That I understand, which will bring us to our next, when we start talking about anxiety, because anxiety, what I'd like to do is take this and kind of run it with an anxiety kind of thing, because anxiety tends to, if we allow it to run, we'll become our own prisoner. It's a self-imposed prison, because our world will continue to get smaller and smaller as the anxiety moves. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And in DBT, the dialectic is one of the tools, probably a foundational tool, that helps to fight anxiety once you learn how to use it.
So can you just give me a real quick overview of what that looks like, what that feels like, what that means?
So what that means is that if any particular client comes in and says, "Oh, I'm so afraid of spiders. Spiders are terrible. I used to have a fear of spiders." Okay. About dropped my baby in the laundry room more than once because I saw a spider. So spiders used to scare me. But what I started to do with the dialectic as I was learning about DBT is I started to realize, okay, this fear I have, I need to look at this. What's the dialectic of spiders? Do spiders serve a purpose? Well, then I was willing to look up, what do I need to know about spiders? So I look up spiders, and I find out spiders eat bad bugs. Bad bugs meaning cockroaches and bugs you don't want in your house.
Okay.
And so then I said to myself, okay, spiders eat some of the bugs we don't like, so which would I rather have? And then I decided, okay, so there's some advantage to having a spider or two in your house. So that's an example of the dialectic and using it to help with anxiety. I thought to myself, okay, spiders aren't all bad.
Okay.
They're not all horrible and frightening. In fact, some spiders don't hurt you at all. For instance, daddy long legs. So I would tell myself, okay, daddy long legs. So what I did with that was I'd go outside and I'd look at a daddy long leg spider, and I would just be in proximity to it without freaking out, and say to myself, oh, these spiders eat bugs.
So you were able to rationalize as well as desensitize.
Exactly. So I used that to help me desensitize, and then the more and more I started to think in this way about spiders, the less I had fear about spiders. And today, I don't have fear of spiders unless it looks like it's a poisonous one or something, and I might freak out for a minute or two till I figure out what kind it is. But,
Right.
So the dialectic helps with those kinds of scenarios. It's not the only tool in DBT that helps to fight anxiety, but it's one of the primary tools that helps fight cognitive distortions or ideas in our minds that aren't completely accurate.
Cool. Well, what I would love to do is take this, and if you're okay with it, maybe run with it, maybe come up with some more scenarios and see how maybe we could use it for the fear of flying. That's we're having an aviation series, and I would kind of like to tie this one into that if you don't mind. That would kind of be great to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had any things to kind of wrap up this thought on the DBT and anything about it, and what would you say? What would you be able to, if you could kind of put it in a neat little box?
With DBT, there are multiple tools that we have that help people develop skills for coping with life the way it is, help us accept life the way it is, and help us change harmful reactions to life.
I get that because I do go to some DBT training. And one of the things we talked about, I remember talking about it with you one other time, is this would be a great tool to teach in the schools, as part of maybe a life class, so it teaches us how to, because if our parents don't know how to do it, how do we teach our children how to do it? If I don't know how to do it, I can't teach my kids, who then turn around and pass on different behaviors. Can you kind of speak to that just for,
Mm-hmm. Yes. DBT really teaches three of the major components that was identified by Goleman in his book about emotional intelligence. I can't remember when the book was written, but several years ago, a book came out, and it described that impulse control, emotion regulation, interpersonal skills are three of the most important things in developing emotional intelligence. In DBT, we teach emotion regulation, interpersonal skills, this dialectic, something called wise mind, and we teach a skill for distress tolerance, when you have to tolerate distress, which helps with impulse control. Right. So the four main skills that we teach in DBT actually speak directly to emotional intelligence. And so it dawned on me at some point, this isn't just a therapy. This really does give a basic foundation for emotional intelligence for just about anyone.
Positive Momentum TV is brought to you by Movement Solutions.